Hey there, high level listeners. Welcome back to another episode here at High Level Listening. Today, we've got a new topic that's super relevant for all of our high level listeners, and that's how to talk about learning English in English. And we've also got tips for improving your English and different ways to get better and better with different learning methods.
Absolutely. Yes. Welcome and thank you for joining us here at High Level Listening. This is our channel where we bring you side by side American and British English with me, Mark from the UK, and Kat from the US. So we know that your English learning journey can sometimes be a very long story with many different stages and phases and changes. So today we're going to share some really useful ways to help you describe your own language level and your language journey in authentic, naturally spoken English.
That's right. As always, we've got two scripts for you, one in American English from me and one in British English from Mark. We will both read our scripts, then break them down line by line, explaining key vocabulary, expressions, and interesting grammar points. And don't forget, if you'd like to download a PDF transcript of our conversation and all of our other videos, you can join our community here on YouTube. You can become a member, and each week we released at least 2 new videos with transcripts, and then there are hundreds of pages of PDFs from previous episodes ready for you to dive into.
Okay, so let's jump into today's topic. And our main question for today is, how did you get better at learning English?
So, one of the first things I did was order a bunch of textbooks in English, and that really helped me expand my vocabulary and get used to different sentence structures and some grammar as well. Those were okay, but kind of hard to stick to, and I really needed to work on my speaking skills. So, I joined a conversation class to just practice speaking out loud, even though I was a little nervous getting started. More recently, I've been following an online school that offers live streaming classes with native speakers, which has really helped me sharpen my listening and conversational skills. Let's see, I also keep English podcasts and playlists running in the background while I'm working. It doesn't require all of my attention, but I still feel like I'm improving. And of course, I can't forget about watching some of my favorite American TV shows. That's been huge for improving my listening comprehension, but they talk way too fast sometimes. Overall, I think combining self-study with some structured classes has made a big difference for me. All right, so Mark is going to share his experience here.
For me, in the beginning, when I put my mind to learning English, I first signed up for group classes at the local community centre. Those classes were fairly helpful. I definitely became more confident in my grammar, but I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud instead of studying textbooks and doing tests. So that's when I started taking one-on-one lessons to get some speaking practice and have someone correct my mistakes. I found a great online tutor, and I think they've really helped expand my vocabulary and iron out all the little mistakes I didn't even know I was making. I know I still need to work on my listening skills, so I've also made it a habit to watch English TV shows with subtitles in the evenings. That's been a fun way to pick up new phrases and get familiar with slang, although some fast dialogue is still quite hard for me. So overall, I think it's been a mix of things, but most of all, it's something manageable that I can keep up with. Okay, there you go. That's Kat's American script and my British one. In this episode, there aren't a lot of differences between American and British English. We're mostly focusing on language skills, learning skills, and different methods to learn English. But like we said, we'll go back to the start of our script. Kat, at the beginning, did you start learning quite slowly, or did you jump right in the deep end?
So, one of the first things I did was order a bunch of textbooks in English, and that really helped me expand my vocabulary and get used to different sentence structures and some grammar. Now, I really like that Mark just started a class. I went with a little bit of a slower route. I just ordered a bunch of textbooks online. So, one of the first things I did was this. One of the first things I did was that. So, one of the first things I did was order a bunch of textbooks in English. Now, this actually works really well for books. I always think of like a bunch of books as kind of like a group of books, and it's quite a few. So I ordered a bunch of books online, a bunch of textbooks in English. And why did I do that? That really helped me expand my vocabulary. Now, a lot of students ask me, how do I improve my vocabulary? A better word would be expand your vocabulary. Make your vocabulary skills bigger and better. So when we talk about expanding, so instead of just using the little words like improve your vocabulary, we can use this word expand, okay? Because you want more vocabulary, you want to learn more. So that really helped me expand my vocabulary and get used to different sentence structures and some grammar. When it comes to learning a language, you're really getting used to things, okay? You might think, wow, Americans speak so fast. Well, you have to get used to it. It becomes more and more normal. So as you get used to it, it's not so scary anymore. It feels normal. So, of course, we need to get used to things. And getting a bunch of those textbooks helped me get used to different sentence structures. Now, this is a fancy word. It's the way the sentences are put together, the sentence structure. I eat an apple. She eats an apple. We eat apples. This is the same structure. It would be subject, verb, object, right? This is called a sentence structure. But sometimes when we translate to another language, those sentence structures get turned around. They're said in a different way. It's not exactly the same as before. So we have to get used to different sentence structures and the scariest one of all, some grammar. Grammar is just basically the rules and patterns that we use in everyday language, but it's not so scary, right? All right, Mark. I kind of started, I would say a bit slow. I started a bit slow because I ordered a bunch of textbooks online. I didn't jump into a class like you did. What did you think about jumping right in?
So for me, in the beginning, when I put my mind to learning English, I first signed up for group classes at the local community centre. So for me, in the beginning, this is the start of my English learning journey. And one day I decided to learn English. I put my mind to learning English. When you put your mind to doing something, you decide to do it. I will do it. I am going to learn English. Like, watch me. So when I put my mind to learning English, I made quite a serious decision. I need to make a plan, and I need to have a goal that I can reach. And I thought the best way for me to improve quickly was with group classes. Group classes is when it's me and several other students at the same level, and usually one teacher. This is quite a traditional, standard way of learning English in group classes. Group classes can be just like 3 or 4, or it could be a bit bigger, 10 or 15. If you check out your local community centre, they might offer group English classes in the evenings. Sometimes they're free, sometimes they're paid, but I signed up for group classes. I put my name down. I wanted to learn English in those group classes. Group classes, some people like those because you get to meet other people. You know there will be a teacher who is speaking the language correctly, so you have a good guide or a good model to follow, and you can also compare yourself with other people. Maybe you realize your English is better than you thought, or maybe you can learn from your classmates as well. They might use words that you've never heard before, and if you're in the same country, you can speak your own language and say, hey, what does that mean in English? And you can translate as well. So group classes are often a very popular first step. So I feel like my speaking skills aren't as good as they could be. Do you have any tips for getting better at speaking?
Well, I would say that the textbooks were okay, but hard to stick to. And I really needed to work on my speaking skills as well. So I joined a conversation class to just practice speaking out loud, even though I was a little nervous getting started. So, my tip for anyone that wants to improve their speaking skills is to join a conversation class. Now, Mark hopped into a group class, but a group class, which he'll tell you a little bit more about later, could be mostly reading, it could be writing, it could be any form of learning English, really. So I specifically wanted to join a conversation class. Now, a conversation class is going to be a group class like Mark joined, but specifically for speaking. And not just for speaking formally or in a business situation, but conversationally. And that's kind of what we try to do here on our YouTube channel anyway. We want you to speak conversationally. We want you to chat with native speakers in any situation, right? So joining a conversation class is the perfect way to practice speaking out loud. Out loud. Now, out loud isn't just the volume. You think, okay, so it's soft and then it's loud. But out loud means that the words come out of your mouth, okay? So you might be reading something and you're reading it to yourself. So kind of in your mind, right? You're reading it to yourself. Or, hello, my name is Kat. Nice to meet you today. I'm reading out loud, speaking out loud, because I know when we're studying, we kind of get stuck in our head a little bit. And a lot of our students think, well, I can understand conversation, but the words won't come out of my mouth, right? So if you want to improve those speaking skills, then you probably need to join a conversation class or get a teacher that you can speak to conversationally. So let me go through a couple of the other vocabulary words. I said that the books that I bought originally, those were okay, but hard to stick to. Hard to stick to. I think one of the best tips for learning another language is you need something you will stick to, okay? You will continue to do, you'll make it part of your routine. You won't stop, start. You'll stick to it. Continue in this routine. And those textbooks, they sounded like a good idea when I ordered them, but honestly, they were hard to stick to. And since I really needed to work on my speaking skills, I joined a conversation class to just practice speaking out loud, even though I was a little nervous getting started. It is humbling. I always tell students, learning another language is humbling. You are not your confident self. You are not your exciting self that you are in your own language. You have to start from nothing and you have to build that confidence again. This is what I mean by language is humbling. Okay, I'm nervous. I'm not normally a nervous person. I don't know the word for this. I'm not sure how to express myself. This is very humbling. So even though I was a little nervous getting started, I signed up for the conversation class because I really want to improve my speaking skills. All right, Mark, so I signed up for a conversation class after all those textbooks. How did you feel about your group classes?
Those classes were fairly helpful. I definitely became more confident in my grammar, but I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud instead of studying textbooks or doing tests. So, those classes were fairly helpful. Fairly helpful, quite helpful, pretty helpful. So, I'm not saying very helpful or extremely. They were a bit less than that. So, they were definitely good. They were fairly helpful. They helped me. How did they help me? I definitely became more confident in my grammar. If you study and gain a skill and you feel better about using it with other people, that you're getting it correct most of the time, then you will become more confident in that thing. So you might become more confident in your vocabulary, become more confident in speaking, become more confident in situations where you have to speak English, like at the bank or in an office. So it helped me. I definitely became more confident in my grammar. I knew that the sentences I was making were correct. But a common complaint that I hear from my students who take group classes is I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud. So my classes are finished, so I wish they gave, and I wish there was something different about them. I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud. Kat was saying out loud before, so using my voice. And yeah, in group classes, the teacher usually speaks the most. The teacher is explaining grammar rules, explaining sentence structures, and the students are listening and making notes, and that's fairly helpful. But the reason for learning a language is to communicate. And if you don't talk out loud, you're not going to get better at communicating as quickly as you could. So I wish if I could change something, I would want more time to talk out loud. I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud instead of studying textbooks and doing tests. Again, common complaint in group classes is that you study, read, and you do tests and you get 10 out of 10. You get 100% in all the tests. But then when a native speaker asks you a question, you freeze. All of this information gets kind of jammed up. So yeah, I can definitely understand the benefits of conversation classes, which are only focused on talking out loud. But again, different people prefer different approaches. I enjoyed the group classes. They were fairly helpful, but I wish they gave us more time to talk out loud. So, Kat, back to you. You mentioned live streaming at one point, and I know that's growing and growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. Did you say you joined some live classes?
So, more recently, I've been following an online school that offers live streaming classes with native speakers, which has really helped me sharpen my listening and conversational skills. So, we're talking about live streaming and live classes. So, this would normally be where I can watch someone that is kind of like giving a lecture, but I would probably only be able to message them, or I would be able to watch it in real time, live at this moment, but maybe they can't reply to each single person. So I can probably send a message and they can interact with me in that way. So more recently, I ordered all those textbooks. I signed up for a conversation class. This might have been years ago when I first started studying. But more recently, I've been following, so over time, an online school that offers live streaming classes. Okay, so a school usually offers one-on-one lessons, group classes, textbooks, PDF downloads. They offer something. So this is something they would give you. So they offer live streaming classes with native speakers. Now, there is nothing wrong with a teacher who has learned English as a second language. Some of our favorite teachers have learned English as a second language, but I wanted to sound a little bit more natural, and I really wanted to work on conversational skills. So I really liked that this online school offers live streaming classes with native speakers, which has really helped me sharpen. Think of a pencil. If you're writing with a pencil and it's very flat, right? It's very difficult to write with. And then you put it in the sharpener and all of a sudden it has a point. So when you sharpen something, you make it more effective and more efficient. So I wanted to sharpen my listening and conversational skills. Listening skills, conversational skills. We could use all of these skills. This would be a skill is something you have learned. Okay, so listening skills, reading skills, these are the things that I have learned and I'm getting better at. So I wanted to sharpen my skills. All right, so let's have a look. Mark, so you didn't get too much opportunity to talk in the group class. That's unfortunate. So how do you get more conversation practice?
So that's when I started taking one-on-one lessons to get some speaking practice and have someone correct my mistakes. So, like I mentioned in the group class, it was fairly helpful, but I wish I had more time to talk out loud. So I changed strategy. That's when I started taking one-on-one lessons. So one-on-one lessons, it's one student, one teacher, one-on-one. This can be in person. I've had one-on-one lessons in a coffee shop, and I've also had one-on-one lessons online, where we're in different countries, we're on different sides of the globe, but we're having a lesson with one student and one teacher. So one-on-one lessons are very popular, especially now. There's so many websites and apps available where you can connect to a language teacher. So yeah, I started taking those classes, or I started having those classes. I wanted to get some speaking practice. Yeah, when it's only you and only the teacher, there's no one else to answer questions. You don't have any classmates to take over. You have to do it. You have to speak. Kat mentioned the word humbling earlier. Yes, the first time you have a one-on-one lesson with a teacher, it can be a little bit humbling. They will ask you a question, maybe the first question they ask you, and you're like, sorry, what did you say? So even from the beginning, you realize maybe some phrases you don't know, or maybe once you meet a native speaker one-on-one, you start to understand the kinds of questions they really ask. In textbooks, it will say, hello, how are you? But in real life, they might say, hi, you having a good morning? It could be something very different, and that can be quite shocking at first, but that's in a good way. That's great knowledge. That's a great phrase that you can use, and now you know it. The next time someone uses that with you, you're ready to answer. So it can be a little bit scary, and I know that's why some people hesitate to take one-on-one lessons. They feel like they're not ready, but I still think they're some of the best ways that you can learn language, because there's nowhere to hide, and you will improve. And once you start working with the same teacher for multiple weeks, you'll start to remember the same questions. They'll ask you the same questions every class, and you'll get better and better. And then once you start to build a habit, or even like a really good relationship with the teacher, it really takes off from there. So one final benefit of one-on-one lessons, I could have someone correct my mistakes. So have them do something. Have them correct my mistakes. If I say something wrong, if I make an error, pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary, a one-on-one teacher can instantly tell you the correct answer. This is also helpful because in American and British culture, strangers on the street or friends in conversation will not correct your mistakes if we're chatting. We find that kind of rude or a bit self-righteous to say, actually, it's the pizza. But a teacher will do that. That's their job. That's what you're paying them for. So you'll get much more progress much more quickly because they'll be correcting you. And friends and colleagues probably won't do that. So that's another way to accelerate your learning. Next question then. So you've got the live classes, you had the books, you had conversation classes. How do you keep up with all of these different things? I feel like I don't have a lot of time to study, but how do you manage it?
Well, I also keep English podcasts and playlists running in the background while I'm working. It doesn't require all of my attention, but I still feel like I'm improving. Mark's right. Usually when I start to learn another language, I buy all the books, I have everything ready, and then I just don't have time to do any of these things. So how do I keep up with it? I keep things playing in the background. Playing in the background, running in the background. I think we had this vocabulary when we talked about the TV. This is when kind of this is not your focus, okay? My focus is I have to work. I'm at work. But maybe I'm doing some boring tasks or something that just requires me to be in front of the computer. So I'm listening to something in the background. I'm running a playlist. I'm running a podcast. So a podcast is like what we do here. We are chatting about English, right? So this is an English podcast. You can watch the video, but it's not necessary. So you can listen to us. So you can have us on a playlist, or you can have us in the podcast running in the background while you're doing something else. So my focus is I'm working, but in the background, maybe on the radio or on the speakers or on my headphones, I'm also listening to something in the background. It doesn't require all of my attention. This is not a one-on-one class. My teacher isn't waiting for me to answer, oh, sorry, teacher, I'm working. No, that probably wouldn't work as something in the background. You need your full attention. But it doesn't require all of my attention, but I feel like I'm still improving. I still feel like I'm improving, which means that even though it's not 100% of my attention, I'm still listening. I'm still occasionally paying attention. So I do still feel like I'm improving. Now, Mark, this is the thing. I never really know if I'm making mistakes, especially in a new language where I'm learning from a textbook or if I'm translating directly from my own language. Do you get corrections from your teacher then?
Yes, I found a great online tutor, and I think they've really helped expand my vocabulary and iron out all the little mistakes I didn't even know I was making. So, this is similar to what I just said earlier. In conversations and with friends and colleagues, we don't like to correct other people's English in the UK or the US, but if you have a tutor, they should be doing that. I kind of use this as a criteria of whether I want to continue with a tutor or not. I want them to correct me. It doesn't have to be instantly, but at some point, tell me if I've done something wrong. And I found one that does this. I found a great online tutor. Tutor could be a teacher. I found a great online teacher. I found a great online tutor. And I think they've really helped expand my vocabulary. Kat mentioned that earlier. We think of vocabulary as big and small, so a big vocabulary. You could also say build my vocabulary. Again, it makes it bigger and better. The main thing they do is iron out all the little mistakes. So iron, when you want to smooth your clothes, like a business shirt and something with no wrinkles or creases, so it looks really nice, you take an iron and make it nice and smooth. Iron out mistakes is the same idea when you correct something or fix something, especially if they're small things. You iron out a bug in some software or iron out a grammar mistake. Like Kat said, sometimes I'm copying something I've heard on TV, or I'm just repeating something or translating something from my own language, and it sounds right. People understand what I mean, but it's actually not correct. Some of my Korean students often say so-so, and I say, we don't really use so-so. Or my Russian students, at the beginning of emails, they write, "Dear colleagues," and we don't say that either. So yes, a one-on-one teacher can help you iron out these little mistakes that you didn't even know you were making. All right, back to you, Kat. Do you watch any TV in English? Does that help?
Of course, I can't forget about watching some of my favorite American TV shows. That's been huge for improving my listening comprehension, but they talk way too fast sometimes. Now, I want all of our English learners to know that yes, even in our own native language, TV is fast. It's scripted, okay? This is not real life English. It's scripted, which means that someone has memorized the words and they're saying them very quickly. Whether it's for a dramatic effect or it's to be funny, yes, TV is fast. So don't worry too much if you are watching TV thinking, I am never going to talk like that. That's probably true. We don't talk like that either. This is scripted English. So don't worry too much about that. But I love watching these TV shows. Maybe you watch American TV shows, Canadian TV shows, British TV shows. That's been huge for improving my listening comprehension. If something has been huge, that means it's been very helpful, very helpful. So that's been huge for improving my listening. Great, we can say that, improving my listening or improving my listening comprehension. Comprehension is a pretty fancy word. That just means understanding. And so listening is understanding what people are saying because you can hear them and understand them. So listening comprehension. But they talk way too fast sometimes. You might even agree that I talk way too fast sometimes. Cat talks way too fast sometimes. This is true. Americans in general talk quite quickly, but I definitely don't talk as fast as TV, right? So let's continue on with Mark. I think we both like to watch TV. Do you ever watch any English shows?
I know I still need to work on my listening skills, so I've also made it a habit to watch English TV shows with subtitles in the evenings. That's been a fun way to pick up new phrases and get familiar with slang, although some fast dialogue is still quite hard for me. So back to the start. I know I still need to work on my listening skills. If you still feel like you have a weak area or an area that's not as strong as the other parts, then you need to work on that area. You need to focus on that specific area. You can do that by finding tests, finding websites, finding a tutor. But it's a good sentence. I still need to work on my speaking skills. I still need to work on my listening skills. I still need to work on my grammar skills. So if you know you have a weak area, I still need to work on my listening skills. So for me, I made it a habit to watch English TV shows. Once you build a habit, sticking to studying, a hobby, or exercise becomes so much easier. So I've made it a habit. I put in the effort every day. I tried hard to turn on the TV, turn on Netflix, and find an English TV show. I heard it's something like 20 days or 1 month to make a habit, so you can do it more easily. And that's what I've done. Yes, I've made it a habit. I watch English TV shows in the evenings. So that's every evening or very often. I've made it a habit. So I watch these English TV shows to work on my listening skills, and I also turn on subtitles. Subtitles are when a character speaks and you see the words along the bottom of the screen. It's a really helpful way to match the sound and the word, especially if there are strong accents. In British TV shows, for example, the accent and the spelling, or the pronunciation and the spelling are sometimes quite different, so subtitles can really help you pick up new phrases. That's been a fun way to pick up new phrases. You can learn new phrases, you can learn new vocabulary, and you can pick up new vocabulary. Pick up phrases. Pick up means learn, like you pick it up and put it in your brain. So it also helps me get familiar with slang, which is a very casual way of talking. Although, like Kat said, some fast dialogue is still quite hard for me. When characters are arguing or shouting or there's an action sequence, that's quite hard. I really rely on the subtitles to understand anything. All right, so final question, final part. What has really worked for you? What do you think has made the difference?
Well, overall, I think combining self study with some structured classes has made a big difference for me. So, remember, I told you I ordered a bunch of textbooks, but I also realized that those can be a little boring and maybe a little too structured. Sometimes it might be easier to get a teacher or to join in a class. But when you are studying at home on your own without a teacher, without a class, we would call this self-study. If you follow us here on YouTube and you work with us, this is still self-study because you found us. You can choose to join the class whenever you want to. You can choose to listen to a podcast or join a live streaming class whenever you want to. This is still self-study. When you start to join classes and you need to go every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, this is more structure. This is more structure. So you need to show up to this class, right? So I think combining self-study with some structured classes has made a big difference for me. That means that this has helped me improve, and I didn't just start learning from the textbooks and stop. It's made a big difference for me. Now, Mark, we know that learning any language, especially English, isn't easy. How do you stick to it?
I think overall, it's been a mix of things. But most of all, it's something manageable that I can keep up with. So, what's worked for me? It's been a mix of things. There were group classes, then one-on-one lessons, and English TV shows. So those three, it's been a mix of things. Something for my speaking skills, something for my grammar, something for my listening skills. But most of all, so most importantly, most of all, it's something manageable. This process, this habit is manageable. All of these things are manageable. I can manage them. I can do them a little bit. I don't miss them, as in I don't skip them. They're an easy part of my schedule, and I think I can keep doing them into the future. They are manageable. They don't take up too much of my time. Kat's question was, how do you stick to it? I said, I can keep up with it. And that's the same meaning. If I can keep up with a habit, I can stick to the habit. I can keep doing it. So it's been a mix of things, and most importantly, it's something manageable. It's very common for students to take on too much at once, get overwhelmed and stressed, and then give up. But it's better to have something smaller, less often, or maybe just less intensive that you can keep up with. That'll set you up for long-term success.
Absolutely. Okay, so there we go. Some practical tips and authentic vocabulary to help you talk more about your experiences in learning English. So, have you ever tried out some of these methods? We would love to hear from your experiences of which ones worked for you. What was your favorite method mentioned today? Now, I don't think we talked about this word specifically, but a method is a way of learning. So group classes, textbooks, conversation class, one-on-one lessons, podcasts, watching us on YouTube. These are all different methods. So have you tried any of these yourself? Let us know in the comments below. We read and reply to every single one.
Yes, we do. Please share with us how you've been improving your English or what methods are popular in your country as well. It's a great way to practice with us. You'll get a reply from us. We could correct your mistakes even. Don't forget, you can also get a PDF transcript of this episode and all our other episodes if you join as a member. The link is in the description below.
Thank you so much, everyone. We will see you very soon for our next video. Bye, everybody.